Guys, I'm here today to talk about our new dad comp and how we're implementing it at the teams tournament that we're running on Sunday week. So, if you've been following along at the channel, we've released a pack, and that pack here is for the 2+ event. You can find it on our Discord, but roughly it's a two-player, 1,000 points per player teams event. We're playing on parallel boards side by side. No unit or character can exceed 250 points. No unit entry may be used more than once. And all instances of the word skirmish are equal to open order. Instead, players may spend up to 50 points total on character upgrades or magic items across the army. So I just wanted to sort of go through what some of the justification for that was and where we're coming from in the style of Warhammer that we like to play and what we think, how we think that might appeal to other people. Because when I started playing again, I coined this term the new dads because I had no real want to get back into Warhammer, and Paddy, my brother, and Mike Bastow, who you remember from the channel and various videos, have pushed. They were saying, "Oh, they were going to start playing," and did I want to play? And eventually, I thought, "Oh, yeah, I do." We painted up. I painted up a Lizardmen army, and couldn't get enough games in, so I went to an event, and there met a few other people who have now become the old world behemoths, and you can see their channel too, where they talk about the lists they're bringing in a couple of weeks, and sort of looked at how gaming had changed over the years. Because I'm 44 now. I played Warhammer in the 90s. I played Magic the Gathering very seriously, tried to play poker, tried to play other games very competitively, ran a hobby store. But all of that is over 20 years ago for me. So I'm feeling my age. I think there are certain types of players who are still into playing in a sweaty, 40-degree tin shed or want to spend two all weekend at an event. But I got children, I've got a great marriage, I've got a job that I've got commitments for, and even going for more than one day, even going for one day is a lot at the moment. And then on top of that, yeah, I don't mind being able to park my car, air conditioning, finding food, going to a clean toilet, all these things that later in life just make a bigger deal to you. So I think that we've sort of talked about this a bit throughout the channel, but I call these people the new dads. And although my children are a little bit older, we're a little bit wealthier, we're a little bit slower, a little bit less competitive, but we're still playing to win when we play the game, and the whole aesthetic of the game matters, especially for the medium of Warhammer, which is a lot about the investment you've put into painting your army, what it looks like on the table, and that feeling of being in a fantasy war game. So, to get that across, here's some of the ways that we have organized our comp to try to encourage this way of playing. So anywhere we make rules changes, and these are coming on the back of multiple tournaments now as a TO, all of my rules changes are to look at being pragmatic, not necessarily for balance. That the issue here is that when you're running one game by yourself, a leisurely game in your garage, it's one thing. But when you're trying to run 8 or more games simultaneously, you've got to have things work in an organizational sense. So that skirmish equaling open order is less about skirmish being possibly busted, which I think it is, and that if you're just skirmishing, you're better than infantry if you're then being in ranks. But it's more about how long it takes to move each model and the finicky procedural stuff that comes into play. So we're trying it without skirmish at all, and that includes the individual characters to see how that goes. But it's a means to speed up the day. We don't want the immersion of the game being broken by people who are constantly checking rules or having to clarify every little detail on the table. This is sort of tied into what I think sportsmanship is. There's some talk about not being a dick, but I don't think that matters as much as I think. I think when I've seen it play out, you need to have incentives. So one incentive about not being a dick is when I make a decision as a tournament organizer, I have each player tell me what they think the result is, and I take one of their sides. I find when you're the judge, the players outsource their issues to you. And some players take advantage of you by asking you lots of leading questions to say, oh, well, the judge can decide, the judge can decide, the judge can decide. It's like that's explicitly not in the rules of Warhammer. We know the rules are half-baked. You got to work it out with the person at the table and be accountable to the person at the table. So there's a penalty for asking a judge to decide something. And I'm good at this in the sense that I'll also tell you which way I might lean. For example, I like the physics of the Warhammer universe more than a rules as written point of view. But if you're going to ask the judge what the issue is without being able to be an adult, a new dad in the room and figure it out for yourself with the player at the table, then there's a penalty and in this case it's 50 battle points. I also think playing the time is more about an organizational thing, and you have to have some rule to penalize players who hit that time because it's about other people's enjoyment. When we say, I don't think don't be a dick is a really convincing epithet for the game. Instead, I think that the idea here that it's a two-player game, you've heard us say on the channel a fair bit, is what I would prefer to argue. And in that case, when you are taking forever to play, you are costing everybody else the timely day that they have and being able to get home on time and show your wife that yes, there is still hours of daylight left and you will mind the children for her for the evening. So sportsmanship and playing the time are big deals. Both of these mechanisms that I've used, in this case for the 75-minute rounds we've got at 1,000-point games, the timer will just, whatever it is, when the timer goes, that's the score. You got to stop. There is no more to go. You add it up at that point. And these two functions, that and the penalty for making a judge decide rather than figuring it out at the table, have proven quite successful, interestingly enough, in previous tournaments I've run. I think relying on them into the future will be something we continue to do. Really, we're just hoping that you let the dice tell the story. We don't want people hanging on, they get unlucky. It happens in the game. There's usually some good stories to go along with it. So roll with it, so to speak. The next thing is more about the design of what we like to see on the table. If you remember in the 90s, there was a movie series called Highlander. And in that case, the byline was there can be only one guy to survive who had these special powers where they had to chop off each other's heads. It's awesome. If you like the Warhammer fantasy world, you will love Highlander. So it means that, and it was Magic the Gathering used this for a while, that you can only play one copy of something in your deck. In Warhammer, we say you can only use each unit entry, whether that's characters or units, once each. So this means that armies start to look more like an army, and the diversity creates interesting situations where different unit types have to interact. Instead of skew, which is the bane of all Warhammer, where one narrow rules glitch interacts with another rules glitch, it makes for a more of a cut and thrust game, which is worthy of the 3-hour investment that you're making. Skew is so bad because on top of that, you can just sometimes hit the matchup that you don't like. So if you're playing Tomb Kings, you don't want to run into vampire counts, but you're probably pretty happy to play Cathay or anything else for that matter. But when you turn up, that's at a skew, and you've got your Shabti, and you can shoot down their lanterns from afar, but then you run into the Banshees instead, and you have nothing to really stop the magical attacks. Or you don't have the magical attacks to stop them. You're just turning the 3-hour game into top trumps. Now, there are plenty of other games where you can play that sort of metagaming, but for the amount of time people spend on their armies and they want to beautifully present them, and that's something that us as the new dads care about, we want for those 3 hours to be absorbed by different sorts of interactions and that your decisions might mean something in the game. So far, so good. The Highlander unit design list design has worked better than I thought, and it's leaning more and more that way all the time as Games Workshop releases more broken units. The other thing that we've incorporated that I didn't think was I didn't realize until I saw it how good it was, and I think it comes from Mountain Miniatures and the Old World Behemoths have used it a bit too, is this concept of low fantasy. So Patty gets on me for using the word abstract all the time, but an abstraction is something that only exists in your head, not in the physical world. It's not concrete. And in that sense, we want the game to be immersive and have color and be three-dimensional. So while when the magic items are limited to 50 points or upgrades, you're going to find that the mod armies are more moderate, and there's proportion to the different powers of models on the table. Hero Hammer is still important. I played in fourth ed. While I love sixth ed and the aesthetic, or I do see it as the high point of the game, I do think you want to play, different model types and have mounted characters and things like that running around. So to that end, the reality is that you can have these sorts of heroes in duels with each other or attacking units, and they're not just crushing them with cookie cutter ward save plus multiple wound attack abilities, and instead the power level is much more dilute, and the rolls to hit and the rolls to wound matter. But they still tend to be powerful pieces. So on top of that, you're never going to fix Games Workshop. If you take away though, while some of the release armies, Tomb Kings, Bretonia, Cafe, point for point, they are a lot better. It just becomes grotesque when you add in their magic items or their upgrades. So that's where you can sort of take back some of that power. While they're probably still good for an additional unit on top of other armies, sadly, until they can do a points adjustment system, I don't think that will change. The imbalance can be watered down a bit if you can restrict those magic items. And in-house magic items are awesome. This is not on this comp list. We've started using only in-house or in-faction magic items, which are great for adding flavor and personality and removing those cookie cutter, all samey, and seeing the same army on the table all the time. Ultimately, we'd like to encourage proportion. I haven't really struck on the best way to get this across in as simple as an elegant a way as possible, but we don't think if you're playing, say, 20 spearmen, that you should have 30 swordmasters in your army. It should be some level of gradation between what's core, what's special, and what's rare. So there you have it. Before we get on to the list for the 2 Plus event, I want to thank our financial supporters, especially Doc Whitson, who's new to the channel. We really appreciate it, Doc. And of course, Pandemwargaming, who with their high quality plastic prints for terrain and other accessories have supported our channel for a long time now. We appreciate it, Jeff. Thank you very much. So let's have a look. If we head over the event we're running on New Recruit, here are some of the lists. We're going to head back and pair them in a second before you go. But first of all, we have Josh and Jason. So running Dwarves, King, Rangers, Ironbreakers, Dwarf Cart, and an Organ Gun. And Jason's got Wood Elves. He's got a Shadow Dancer, a Spell Singer, 14 Glade Guard, 10 Dryads, 6 War Dancers, 10 Wildwood Rangers. Patty's going to love that. And a Tree Man. Actually, Patty's just going to love his list in general. Anyway, good to see Josh back on the Dwarves. I feel like his foray into Chaos, they're both aspects of his personality, but I'm glad we've been able to provide him an opportunity to get back onto the Dwarves. Dave and Jared, both playing Orcs. Amazing. So Dave's Black Orc War Boss on a boar. I love a general on Steed more than anything else. He also has his big boss with Wallop's One Hit Wonder, who didn't do much damage against me recently, but hopefully has more luck. 15 Black Orcs, a Weird Boy, 18 Orcs, huge infantry here. 6 Orc Boys, Biggins, a boar chariot, and a Mangler Squid. It's amazing how much Orcs can pack in. And then another Black Orc War Boss, a Night Goblin Odd Knob, 17 Black Orcs, 22 Night Goblins with 2 Fanatics, a Bolt Thrower, 5 Orc Ball Boys, another Orc Chariot, and a Doom Diver on the other side with Jared. Very interesting. It's almost like see that many Black Orcs on the table will be unusual. Then we've got the Behemoth. So we've got Alex running a Demonic Herald on a Juggernaut, a Demon Prince. Yeah, interestingly, no spellcasters. 18 Plague Bearers, 3 Blood Crushers, and 3 Beasts of Nurgles. He's been talking up the beasts. I agree with him. They could be good in this shooting metagame. And then Alistair has a High Beastmaster on a Manticore, a Sorceress, 14 Blackout Corsairs, 5 Dark Riders, a Charybdis, and a War Hydra. So they're definitely giving you the behemoth run for the money, or at least Alistair is here. Beyond that, you've got Steve and Brad, and we're running a chapter master of the Order of White Wolf. Interesting. And then an engineer with the Hochland long rifle, High Priest of Ulrich, twice blessed armor that cooked me the other day in a game. Hammerhand kills me. Six Empire Knights, White Wolf, 15 handgunners, three demigriffs, and a great cannon. Steve's got Burlock Damonson. Stay tuned for our special character video coming soon. A sapper, so it's X-Force, Thane, two gyrocopters, 16 thunderers, 14 rangers, and an organ gun, which has function over form. Pete and Dave, who I think won the narrative event as a team. Temple and Town there back. God, Pete is a classic. He's got a Saurus Scar Veteran as his general. 10 Saurus Warriors, 20 Skink Skirmishers, 4 Croxagore, a Stegodon, Ancient Stegodon. Pete doing what I can't and playing Lizardmen event after event. And then Dave's got his Baron on a Hippogriff, an Outcast Wizard. So he's playing Exiles, 6 Knights of the Realm, 14 Peasant Bowmen, 24 Yeoman Guard, a Border Prince Bombard, and 10 Brigands with Blunderbusses. Fascinating. See how they go. Can they defend their doubles or team's title? Sorry. Chris and Mike, the Braying Herds, they've got a Gorby's Chariot. I'm about to paint one up for the channel. Chris can't wait. He's got an Exalted Sorcerer, another Chariot, 4 Chaos Knights, 5 Horsemen, 2 Dragon Ogres, 1 is a Shartak, and a Spawn of Nurgle. And then Mike has a Gorbul General with the Axes of Korgor, very flavorful. A Wargore Battle Center Bearer, 17 Gore Herds, full command, 4 Minotaurs, 2 Dragon Ogres, and a Gorgon. Gorgon might be my favorite unit in the game. Love it. Then the Centerlink squad, Steve and Josh they've got Chaos first 2. Demon Forge Barding, interesting. It's Demonic Mount. Thought it was a magic item I didn't know about. An Exalted Champion, Exalted Sorcerer, and then a Chaos Chariot, 7 Chaos Knights, 6 Warhounds, a Chosen Chaos Chariot, so it's Heralds, and a Gorbeast. God, surely this tournament has the most Gorbeast Chariots ever. And then Josh has a Goblin Ogget on a Giant Wolf. I love that. You won't be able to kill it. An Orc War Boss on a Chariot, 18 Goblin Wolf Riders, 10 Boar Boys, Orc War Chariot, 2 Pump Wagons, so far out, and a Black Orc Chariot. The pump Wagons are great value. So, and then the Eggplants, another Black Orc War Boss, 17 Black Orcs, 30 Goblin Mobs, 5 Wolf Riders, 2 Chariots, 10 Boar Boys. And then Matt, so that's Andrew. Matt's got an Exalted Champion on a Demonic Mount, Marcus Slanesh, Exalted Sorcerer, Marcus Slanesh, and 5 Chaos Nuts, Slanesh, 5 Horsemen, Undivided, interesting, 10 Chosen Warriors, Slanesh, and a Gigantic Spawn of Slanesh. Matt, always a pleasure playing a thematic army. I like the Gigantic Spawn of Slanesh, and I like Chosen Warriors. I hope he does well. I got halberds. I love the look of the halberds too, which is what I'm going to do with my battalion box I got. And then we've got the double Cathay list. They're going to be very popular. So John's got a Shigangan on a the Shigangan must be riding its thing. And then what do you call it? Maybe it is a Shigangan. I can't remember what the mount's called now. 5 Jade Lancers ambushing, 16 Jade Warriors, a cannon, a sentinel, and a lantern. And then Paul has his strategist general on the lantern, 29 Jade Warriors, a cannon, a rocket battery, 5 archers, and 5 outriders. So it must be the Jade Fleet. Very interesting, the armies of infamy so far. Finally, we've got the Solaris, and we've got Anthony running a Tomb King on a chariot, a Tomb Prince on foot, 3 more chariots, a Royal Host unit, 29, about 41 overall, it looks like, with poison still. 4 Tomb Guard, far out, that's a lot of chariot. 4 Tomb Guard chariots, I don't think I've seen them before. And then a Scorpion, And then Michael running a damsel, a duke on a horse, my favorite. Thank you, Michael. 8 knights errant, 15 knights errant on foot, 8 on horse, and 15 peasant bowmen. So they're the lists, guys. Thanks for sticking with me. We're going to run through and we're going to do the first pairings live right now because I can do this and I wanted there to be no bias. Look at that. Who do we get live? We have Brad Respawn versus Sandling Squad, the Eggplants versus Cunning and Brutal, the Yin Yang Bang versus Beaches and Beer, Temple and Town versus the Braying Heralds, and Old World Behemoths versus the Tomb Brits. Thanks for sticking with me so far, guys. We hope we'll be back Sunday week with results from the tournament. We'll let you know how the comp goes. I'm sure everyone's going to have a great time. Make sure you let us know in the Discord if you want to look at the pack. If you've got any comments on how we run things, we're going to probably look to expand this either to 1,000 point singles battle march next year or maybe towards 2,000 points too. We'll see how we go. But let me know what you think in the replies or over at the Discord, and we'll see you soon. Bye.